So hello everyone, I'm Geraldine and I will discuss first the microbiology. So first, what is microbiology? So microbiology means the study of microorganisms. Why microbiology matters? So microorganism matters because they affect every aspect of our life. They are in us, on us, and around us. So meaning they are virtually everywhere. So biologia. Biologia is the study of living organism. From bio, referring to living organism. Logi means the study of. So micro means very small organism. So anything so small that must be viewed with a microscope. So microscope is an optical instrument used to observe the very small objects. We study microbiology. So for me, we study microbiology in order for us to be aware of such disease, and also in order for us to understand the biological process, evolution, genetic, and etc. And again, I'm here to discuss the eukaryotic cells. So, eukaryotic cells. So, first, I will discuss first the introduction. So, during 1950s, scientists developed the concept that all organisms classified as prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So, the cells of prokaryotes and eukaryotes possess two features, which is a plasma membrane, also known as a cell membrane, and cytoplasms. Both eukaryotes and prokaryotes have plasma membrane and cytoplasms. The example of eukaryotes are the protists, fungi, plants, and animals. Everything except prokaryotes. What is the main function of eukaryotic cells? So eukaryotic cells are larger than prokaryotic cells. And eukaryotic cells have true nucleus, unlike the prokaryotics. So membrane-bound organelles and rod-shaped chromosomes. The nucleus houses the cell's DNA, and this directs the synthesis of proteins and ribosomes. So, eukaryotes, eu means true. Karyo refers to a nucleus. Karyo refers to a nucleus. In that DNA, or in that their DNA is enclosed by a nuclear membrane. So most animal and plant, most animals and plants are 30 or 10 to 30 meter in diameter, about 10 times larger than most prokaryotic cells. Organisms that have eukaryotic cells include protozoa, fungi, plants, and animals. These organisms are grouped into the biological domain, which is the eukaryota. Eukaryotic cells are larger and more complex than prokaryotic cells, which are found in archaea and bacteria, and other two domains of life. So the prokaryotic cells are found in archaea and bacteria. So the first structure of eukaryotic cells, nucleus. So the nucleus is a brain of the cell that houses genetic material, sends out instructions or signals, and is where transcription of DNA to mRNA take place. The nucleus is surrounded by a bilayer nuclear membrane called the nuclear envelope. So the envelope contains several nuclear pores, which allow substances, including genetic material and messenger RNA or mRNA, to pass into and out of the nucleus. And finally, the nucleus houses the nucleolus, which is the largest structure in the nucleus. So the nucleolus helps your cells produce ribosomes. More on those in a second. And also plays in a role in the cell's stress response. So another structure of eukaryotic cell, plasma membrane. So plasma membrane is a semi-porous, flexible, and protective outer layer of the cell, made up of phospholipids and protein components. So every eukaryotic cells, animal cells, plant cells, is enveloped by a plasma membrane. So the plasma membrane structure is made up of several components depending on the type of a cell you're looking at. But they are all share one major component, a phospholipid bilayer. So each phospholipid molecule is made up of hydrophilic or water-loving or a phosphate head plus two hydrophobic or water-hating is a fatty acids. The double membrane forms when two layers of phospholipids line up tail to tail, with the fatty acids forming the inner layer of the membrane and the phosphate groups on the outside. So there are other components of plasma membrane. Proteins within the plasma membrane help transport materials in and out of the cell, and they also receive chemical signals from the environment to which your cells can react. The centrosome. Look at an animal cell on the microscope and you will find another organelle, the centrosome, that's closely related to cytoskeleton. So the centrosome functions as the main microtubule organizing center or MTOC of the cell. The centrosome plays a crucial role in a mitosis, so much that defects in the centrosome are linked to cell growth disease like cancer. So you will find the centrosome only in animal cells. The plant and fungal cells use different mechanisms to organize their microtubules. The cytoplasm. In cell biology, each eukaryotic cell is separated into two categories: the nucleus, which we just described earlier, and the cytoplasm, which is everything else. The cytoplasm in eukaryotic cells contain the other membrane-bound organelles, which we'll discuss later. So it also contains a gel-like substance called cytosol. Cytosol is a mix-up water, dissolved substances, and structural proteins that make up about 70% of cell's volume. So the plant cell wall is part of what helps plants stand up straight, at least until they are so deprived of water that they start to wilt and stand up to environmental factors like wind. It also functions as a semi-permeable membrane, allowing certain substances to pass into and out of the cell. The cell wall. The cell wall is the protector. While all eukaryotic cells contain a cytoskeleton, some types of cells, like plant cells, have a cell wall for even more protection, unlike the cell membrane, which is relatively fluid. The cell wall is a rigid structure that helps maintain the shape of the cell. The exact makeup of the cell wall depends on what type of organism you are looking at. For example, algae, fungi, and plant cells all have distinct cell walls, but they are generally made of polysaccharides, which are complex carbohydrates as well as structural proteins for support. The Golgi apparatus is the packing plant. So, Golgi apparatus is a folded membrane that packages compounds, molecules, proteins, etc. into vesicles for transport. Also creates components for lysosomes. So the Golgi apparatus is the packing plant. So the Golgi apparatus, sometimes called Golgi body, is the packaging plant of the cell, as what I've said earlier. So the Golgi apparatus take proteins newly produced in the ER or endoplasmic reticulum and packages them so they can function properly in the cell. It also packages some substances into a small membrane-bound units called vesicles, and then they ship off to their proper place in the cell. The Golgi apparatus is made up of small sacs called circinae. They look like a stack of pancakes under a microscope that helps process materials. The cis phase of the Golgi apparatus is incoming side that accept new materials, and the trans phase is the outgoing side that releases them. The endoplasmic reticulum is the manufacturer. So the endoplasmic reticulum is the manufacturing plant of the cell, and it's responsible for producing substances your cells need to grow. In the rough endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes work hard to help your cells produce the thousands and thousands of the different proteins that your cells need to survive. So the rough endoplasmic reticulum is maze-like organelle attached to the nucleus. Attached ribosomes give it a spotted or rough appearance compared to the smooth ER where proteins are made. So there are also portions of the ER or endoplasmic reticulum not covered with ribosomes, called the endoplasmic reticulum or ER. So the smooth endoplasmic reticulum is maze-like organelle attached to the rough ER with many folds responsible for the creation of lipids, phospholipids, fatty acids, and cholesterol. So the smooth ER helps your cells produce lipids, including the lipids that form the plasma membrane and organelle membranes. It also helps produce certain hormones like estrogen and testosterone. Mitochondrion. So this is the mitochondrion. So mitochondrion, known as the powerhouse of the cell. The mitochondria creates our body's main energy source, ATP. So the mitochondria is a powerhouse or a battery of the cell. The singular of mitochondria is mitochondrion. So the mitochondria are the main sites of energy production. Specifically, they are where the last two phases of cellular respiration take place, and the location where the cell produces most of its usable energy in the form of ATP. So like most organelles, they surrounded by a lipid bilayer. But the mitochondria actually have two membranes, an inner and an outer membrane. So the inner membrane is closely folded in on itself for more surface area, which gives each mitochondrion more space to carry out chemical reactions and produce more fuel for the cell. So the different cell types have this different number of mitochondria, like liver and muscle cells, for instance, are particularly rich in them. The lysosome. This is the lysosome. The circle one. So lysosomes are eukaryotic organelle found in almost all eukaryotic cells that digest or break down compounds, proteins, and other cell components. So the lysosomes also play a key role in processing proteins, fats, and other substances. They are small membrane-bound organelles, and they are highly acidic, which help them function like stomach of your cell. The lysosome's job is to digest materials, breaking down unwanted proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids so they can be removed from the cell. So, yes, lysosomes are an especially important part of your immune cells because they can digest pathogens and keep them from harming you or overall. So the chloroplast is the greenhouse. So not every cell contains chloroplast. They are not found in plant or fungal cells, but they are found in plant cells and some algae. But those that do put them to good use, chloroplasts are the site of photosynthesis, the set of chemical reactions that help some organisms produce usable energy from sunlight and also help remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The peroxisomes. While the mitochondria might be the powerhouse of the cell, the peroxisome is a central part of the cell metabolism. That's because peroxisomes help absorb nutrients within your cells and come packed with digestive enzymes to break them down. So the peroxisomes also contain and neutralize hydrogen peroxide, which could otherwise harm your DNA or cell membranes, to promote the long-term health of your cells. The vacuole in plants, the central vacuole fills up with water and dissolved substances, and it can become so large that it takes up 3/4 of the cell. It applies turgor pressure to the cell wall to help inflate the cell so that the plant can stand up straight. Other types of eukaryotic cells like animal cells have smaller vacuoles. Different vacuoles help store nutrients and waste products so they stay organized within the cell. So hello everyone, I'm going to discuss the prokaryotic cell structure. So prokaryotic means a primitive nucleus. Pro means before, kary means nucleus. So you can divide the prokaryotes into two domains, which is the bacteria and archaea. Prokaryotes tend to be simple celled organisms without membrane-bound organelles or nucleus. So the eukaryotes have those structures. So the eukaryotic cells have a nucleus that's surrounded by a nuclear membrane, and the other organelles that perform specific function in the cell. So the prokaryotic cells contain only a single membrane. So prokaryotic cells can be contrasted with eukaryotic cells, which are more complex. The cell structure of prokaryotes can vary, but most organisms have several basic components. So the prokaryotes have a cell membrane or plasma membrane that acts like a protective cover. So the prokaryotes, they also have a rigid cell wall for added support and protection. So this is the cell wall. This one. This. And in addition, cell wall structure that maintains the cell shapes and also important for protection of inner cell components. So the cell wall, it helps the cell maintain its shape and stop it from bursting. Prokaryotic cells have ribosomes, which are molecules that make proteins. Their genetic material is in the nucleoid, which is the region where DNA lives. So in addition to this internal structure, some prokaryotic cells have a pilus or flagellum. So this is the pilus, this one. So in addition to these internal structures, some prokaryotic cells have a pilus or flagellum to help them move. A pilus, this is the pilus. So a pilus is a hair-like external feature, while a flagellum is a whip-like external feature. So the flagellum is attached to the cell that rotates in a circle to allow cells to move. So some prokaryotes like bacteria have a capsule outside their cell walls. Nutrient storage can also vary, but many prokaryotes use storage granules in their cytoplasm. So the capsule. Capsule is the outermost component found in some prokaryotic cells. It's rather sticky and can help bacteria interact, provide defense for the cell, and lock in moisture. So this is the capsule, this one. So the cytoplasm. So the cytoplasm is a gel-like fluid found inside the cell where all organelles or components of the cell are found. The nucleoid, this is the nucleoid. So the nucleoid or DNA genetic material in prokaryotes is found in a general, tubular-shaped mass called the nucleoid. So similar to a nucleus that lacks a nuclear membrane. Prokaryotes can reproduce in several ways. The basic types of reproduction including budding, binary fission, and fragmentation. Although some bacteria have spore formation, it is not considered reproduction because there are no offspring formed through this process. So budding happens when a cell makes a bud that looks like a bubble. So the bud continues to grow while it attached to the parent cell. Eventually, the bud breaks off from the parent cells. So the binary fission happens when a cell splits into two identical daughter cells. So the other one is the fragmentation. Fragmentation happens when a cell breaks into small pieces of fragments, and each piece becomes a new cell. So hello everyone, I will discuss the difference between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. So prokaryotic or pro means before, karyon means nucleus. So the prokaryotic cells lack a well-defined nucleus and possess relatively simple structure. And this includes various bacteria. The eukaryotes. So the eukaryotes, U means true, and karyon means nucleus. So the eukaryotes possess a well-defined nucleus and are more complex in their structure and function. So the higher organisms are the animals and plant cells are composed of eukaryotic cells. So the difference between eukaryotic cells and prokaryotic cells. So prokaryotes and eukaryotes are not the same because the types of cells they have differ greatly. So prokaryotes do not have a membrane-bound organelles. So in prokaryotic cell, the membrane the membrane-bound cell organelles are absent, while in the eukaryotic cells, the cell organelles such as plastids, lysosomes, etc. are present. So, in addition, prokaryotes have a smaller surface area compared to eukaryotes. And the prokaryotes are single-celled despite some organisms being able to aggregate to form colonies. The prokaryotic cells are less organized than eukaryotic cells. There are also differences in the levels of regulation, such as cell growth in prokaryotes. So, prokaryotic cells is a very simple, while eukaryotic cells more complex. And as you can see guys, the prokaryotic cells has no nucleus, while in eukaryotic cells contain nucleus. So, and the prokaryotic cells, as what I've said earlier, the prokaryotes lacks internal membrane-bound organelles, and the eukaryotic cells have internal membranes bound together. And the other difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotic cells is that in prokaryotic cells, the size of prokaryotic cell is small, and in eukaryotic cells is large. And in prokaryotic cells, it contains single chromosome, while in eukaryotic cell, it contains more than one chromosomes, or it contains more than one chromosome. And in prokaryotic cell, their cell division take place by binary fission or during the budding. And the eukaryotic cells, their cell division occurs by mitosis or mitatic, or I don't know what it could be pronounced. And in prokaryotes, in is in prokaryotic cells, the prokaryotes is a or DNA not protected, while in eukaryotes, the DNA was protected, and the prokaryotic cells example are bacteria, and in eukaryotic cells example was animal and plant cells. Yes, that's all.